Alright. Is your car too thirsty for gas? Learn how to run your car on water. 39, Part 2. Housing attached. Temporarily threaded the electrode assembly into the generator housing, tightly firmed the support with the entire assembly within a quarter large roll of the tape was done. Proceeding to step 42. Refer to the following figure 12 with the fabricate 3 of the coil soil support brackets with the indicator with the dimension figure from 1/8 inch thick PC PVC sheet. For more efficient operating with the coil must be located approximately a quarter inch above the top of the electrodes. A shim of the place between the electrodes each bracket to achieve the correct clearance of the exercise care to avoid cementing the shim to the brackets. Use scrap pieces of 1/8 inch thick PVC sheet and the shims between the top of the electrodes and brackets. Apply the primer and then cement with the brackets inside of the wall, housing the 128-degree interval shown in figure 11 that attach the brackets. Allow the cement to air dry at least 30 minutes before going to step 4. Show the position of 120 intervals, water inlet port, inch by inch, 2-inch radius curve, 1/8 inch outer electrode. Remove the electrodes assembly from the housing. Bracket the arrangement of the mounting. No, bracket the arrangement of the mounting of the generator dictated between the requirements of each of the system and the installation. Figure 13 show one of the simplest, most commonly used arrangements. Other arrangements can be easily constructed with 18/8 inch CPVC sheet. Brackets 1/4 inch thick are constructed with the 2 layers of 1/8 inch PVC sheet. Cut for 1.5 inch by 6 inch mounted bracket strip of 1/8 inch PVC sheet with the shown in figure 13. The dress the edge of the strip of the sandpaper with the fine tooth file for each of the 2 brackets, with each of applying the primer with the cement of the mating surface to each of the 2 strips, joining them together along the edge of each strip. The wipe the excess of the cement from the edges. Note: material of the ring cover, the straight coupling will be used to make part of the generator housing bracket. Will also be made to double the increase of the wall thickness for the housing where the housing fitting is installed. Cut 1 and 1.5 inch wide ring with the end of the coupling. Refer to figure 14. Use the band sandpaper the side end of the side of the ring of form a flat surface approximately 1 and 1/4 inch wide. The sand siding of the ring and another point of the firm. A similar surface the cutting. Cut each of the 2 flat surfaces from the section of the ring, cutting into both edges of the flat surface as shown in figure 14. Will form 2 sections of from each ring with the will flat outside of the surface over the 1/2 inch, approximately 1/4 inch from the draft of the edge of each section around with the corner slightly using sandpaper to fine tooth file. Or a fine-tooth file. Shown in figure 14 is attached to the pipe at the section with each of the two brackets with the main point of applying the primer to the flat surface of each of the section, mating surface on the bracket, then applying cement the mating surface to the square of the curve of the surface of each of the section with the length of the bracket. 8. Make a doubler cutting section 1 and 1/2 inch of the apply wider range for the shown in figure 14, dressing the edge of the round corners with the slightly using sandpaper and fine-tooth file. Temporarily thread the end cap of the housing slightly firmly. Choose a point anywhere around the housing that's shown in figure 14. This mark a spot with a 1/4 inch up at the edge of the end of the cap. Remove the end cap, apply the primer and cement the mating surface of the doubler and housing, and attach the doubler to the housing. The lower edge of the mark spot. Align the edge parallel to the housing bottom edge. Allow the cement to air dry for at least 8 hours before going to step 9. Alright, figure 13 shows the housing attachment details. 2 inches, 1/4 inch holes, 1.5 inch from and 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, and then a 1/4 inch hole, 3/4 inch from the inside, 6 inch from the outside of it, and 6 inches long. Drill 37/64 inch hole through the center of the 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch doubler housing wall with the shown figure 14. Be sure to keep the hole square with the housing wall. Threads will be later tapered in the hole to install the barbed housing fitting with the connection with the track of the valve. Drill a 1/4 inch fastener hole in either end of the bracket to the 4 hole with the location shown in figure 14 slightly around with the corner of each of the bracket with the sandpaper and fine tooth file. Check the valve with the hose attachment bar fitting with the insert it into the hole drill with a step 9 to determine the direction of the preferred of the filling the point of the relation with the mounting brackets. I recommend having the fitting point directly left shown in figure 13 to directly rotate right to minimize the generator space requirements. Position of the bracket shown in figure 13 clamp with the flat foot surface shook the housing seat evenly with the curved section with the over each of the bracket with no gaps between the housing covered section necessary loose gaps and reposition the brackets. Figure 14 shows housing attachment details. The doubler 3/64 of an inch hole and a 1/4 inch from the doubler from the end cap. 1.25 inch from the cut, 1.25 inch cut, and 1.5 inch cut. For the housing. Apply the primer cement with the mating strip of the bracket of the housing. Attach the housing to the bracket. Place the support bracket on each side of the housing to keep it rotating and shifting during the assembly when it leaves 8 hours before loosening the clamps and moving the housing assembly. Unthread end cap. Loose material. Thread tabs 1/8 of an inch MPTF, then thread cap 3/8 of an inch MPTF cutting tool supply specifically Greenfield type taps the CPVC pipe obtained locally. 2 1/8 of an inch MPT 1/8 of an inch barbed house fittings. 2 3/8 of an inch NPT stainless steel inlet check valve. 1 3/8 of an inch NPT pressure relief valve. 1 3/8 of an inch NPT internal seat drain cock. Figure 3/8 of an inch and PTF by 3 1/8 of an inch barb house fitting the male pipe rigid. 4 3/8 of an inch MPTF by 3/8 of an inch brass barb hose fitting female pipe rigid. 135 SS series stainless steel top mounted level switch 1/8 of an inch PMPT. 1 LS11 plastic side mount level switch PBT 5/8 of an inch LUNC. Alright, your material source. We encourage you to research for the try to Google on your own for your own sources, as we cannot guarantee the sources will offer the best prices that will always be available. The cutting tool supply, 340 West Garrett Lane, Addison, Illinois 60104. Phone number 1-630-543-7171. Specialty MFG Company SMC 5858 Centerville Road, St. Paul, Minnesota 55127. Phone 1-651-653-0599. Garrett 1865 Route 23 South, P.O. Box 768, Butler, New Jersey 07405. Phone number 1973-88-6500. Straub 21 Columbus Avenue, Garfield, New Jersey 07026. Phone number 1973-340-9258. Toll free 1-888-380-966. Fastener Hunter Incorporated 3781 Glengarry Way, Northeast, Roswell, Georgia 300-752615. Phone number 1-770-480-4617. And the Norwich Company with C-O Kip Fluid Controls Incorporated 72 Spring Lane, Farmington, Connecticut 06032. Telephone number 1-800-722-547. Note, the short link of the CPVC rod inside of the end of the lamp and end cap will be used as a spacer water level of the switch. Determination will matter box the table saw assure the squareness and spare cause spacer 2 inches long from the 1 inch diameter CPVC rod using the R size drill bits. Drill a hole through the center of the rod into its entire length parallel to its length, and drill a hole through the center of the end of the cap with the R drill shown in figure 15. Our figure 15 shows the unthreaded end cap detail. The 36 to 64 inch with a hole from the R holes and 1 3/4 of an inch trimmed to the length and 1 inch diameter rod. Caution: be sure that the NPTF tap to prevent possible water gas leaks should not use the NPT tap. Both NPT and NPTF threads will seat properly with the NPTF tap holes. Be sure the tap of the correct depth during the tap until the 12th thread and from the tap enters the hole. Be sure to allow the cap always keep the tap of the line parallel to the side of the spacer. Use 1/8 of an inch 26 tap threads into one end of the hole drip in the spacer. Be sure to keep the tap of the line with the parallel side of the spacer with the tap of the correct with the depth of the 12 threads from the end of the tap. Similarly, thread the 35 SS water level switch to the tap hole, sweetening the firmly insert switch power. Leave it inside of the end of the cap through the drill hole. Measure the recorded distance from the inside surface to the end of the cap, as shown in figure 15. Apply the primer and thin of the cement. Then cement and untap the space for the mating surface the inside of the cap, and install the spacer. Can be best concerned. Be certain that the line of the holes with the spacer and with the cap using the cotton swab. Remove the excessive glue that may have oozed into the hole. Alright, your flash shield. Use the miter table saw for the sure the square end for the cut 3 1/16 of an inch of the long section 1 1/2 inch PVC pipe drill with a 4th 1/8 of an inch hole with the side of the pipe. The space for the 90 degrees interval with the 1/4 inch edge of the shown in figure 16. So, sorry, figure 16. 6 and 7 discs will be used for the flame for a flame arrestor. Use the line cutter cut 7 1/57 of the disc 1/8 of an inch through the CPVC sheet. Drill 1 3/8 of an inch diameter hole through the center of the one of the disc. Apply the primer, then cement the mating strip of the drill to the disc and the end of the pipe opposite with the 4 holes. Attach the disc to the pipe and be sure the center of the disc is on the pipe. Alright, your flame is a arrestor. Use the miter box for the table saw to wear sure of the squareness with 3-inch long with the section from the 1/2 inch CPVC pipe. Use the fly cutter cut 1/2 inch disc with the 1/8 inch CPVC sheet. Check the disc fitting snugly inside of the pipe of the cut with the tip with one doesn't fit snugly. Adjust the cutter and require the cut two 4 disc total of 4 disc. Alright, figure 16 shows the flash detail 3 and 1/16 of an inch, 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch hole on the diameter 156, 157 and 64 inch, 3/8 of an inch hole. Apply the parameter cement with the strip of each of the 2 discs joined with the disc together. Add the line with the disc edge of the wipe the excess, glue the edge of the joined disc. Repeat the procedure with the 2 remaining discs in the same manner as step 3 of the disc steps. 2 stack for the 3 discs, each of them from the 6 disc cut into the steps 2 of the slash shield procedure. Allow just to air drive it at least 1 hour, then drill with the 37 and 64th of a hole through the center of each of the 2 square stacked discs. Refer to the following figure 17 with the drill the hole threatened 13 1/8 inch hole for each of the 2 1.5 inch discs at the indicated locations. Your flame arrestor that seams stainless steel wool 1 by 5 57 and 64 inch for the hole with 3/76 hole 1/8 of an inch on the end of the steel wool and then you have your 1.5 inch 1/4 inch 12 13 holes in the flame arrestor details. Apply the primer to edge with the 1.5 inch with about 3/8 of an inch and either end of the 3-inch bore pipe bore. Apply cement with the primer surface of the slab with a disc of 1/4 inch for the pipe bore with grading of 1/8 of an inch gap between the disc and the pipe is shown in figure 17. Small for the fill cement around the outer junction of the disc and pipe bore with a stand with the pipe on the end of the 5 minutes until the cement around to prevent the plunging of the hole with the cement. Any hole is plugged. Give the short length of the stainless steel rod to open it back up. Allow the cement air to dry about an hour before step 7. Step 7, pack inside of the flash arrestor with the coarse stainless steel wool. Repeat this procedure with step 6 until solve the 1.5 inch disc. No, stainless steel wool is available to some large supermarkets. You can also purchase it from the following stores: JWP 2575 West Linoleum, Melrose Park, Illinois 60160. Toll free 1-800-732-9336. Be sure not to use NPTF taps to prevent possible water gas leakage. Be sure to only use NPTF taps to prevent possible water gas leakage. Do not use the NPT taps. Both NPT and NPTF threads will seal properly to the NPTF tap holes. Be sure to tap the correct depth when turning the tap. The 12 thread from the front of the tap to fully enter the hole. Be sure to always keep the tap aligned with the square leaf of the surface around the drilled hole. No, be sure the 2 stack of the 3 discs joined with the proceeding with step 4 with the air drive for at least 24 hours with the drill hole. The following step of the 8, but be sure to keep the drill bit square with the curve of the outer surface of the unthreaded end cap of the plate for the axis for each of the 3 hole with the angle of the axis center with the shown figure 15. For figure 15, the drill with the 37 by 64 inch hole with the top of the unthreaded end cap, each of the 1 3/4 of an inch from the center of the hole with the cap. Be sure to keep the drill bit square with the curve over the surface of the end cap. The for the outer side of the drill bit, drill a hole with the top of the end cap 1/34. End cap 1 3/4 of an inch from the center of the hole shown in figure 15. Be sure to keep the caps aligned squarely with the surface of the round with the holes. Tap the correct depth of the 12 threads from the end of the tap. Tap the 3/8 inch by 18 threads with the 3/7/64 inch hole with the following location: 2 holes on the top of the unthreaded end cap and 1 hole on the bottom of the threaded end cap. 1 hole in the doubler in the housing wall, 1 hole in each of the 2 frame arrestor cap. The 2 1/8 inch 27 threads with the outer size hole close to the end of the cap, the unthreaded to the cap. Using 3/8 inch 18 tap threads with insert the 37 and 64th inch hole, each of the 2 stacks of the 3 discs joined the proceeding the step 4 with the plow. The primer center thinly cement with the mating surface. They have 1 stack with the disc with the lame 3-inch flame of the arrestor pipe. Test the disc to the pipe, being the surface of the tap at the end of the holes forward, face outward. Repeat the procedure for the remaining stack of disc. Alright, your water level switch. Note, it's important to very correctly operation water level switch before installing the slash shield. Never attempt to control the power to the electrical device directly through the water level of the switch. Doing so will damage and destroy the switch. The water level switch contains a very high quality magnetic reed contacts. It will operate with a million of cycles. It will operate through millions of cycles when connected to properly designed electrical circuit. The water level switch is usually supplied with a normally closed contact configuration. Step 1 verifies normally closed contact configuration. Stop 1 of the ohm meter, leave at the switch power, leave at the subsending of the switch as the power leads for the verify the ohm meter, indicate if the clove of the switch contact in the contacts are not closed, and go to step 3. Slowly slide at the switch float upward, verify the contacts open and approximately the midpoint. Float travel the contacts are open properly. Go to step 4. If the contacts do not open properly, the switch is defective and must be replaced. Use a marking pen, make a small dot on the top of the switch float. Use the switch properly with the normally open of the contact configuration, inverting the float with a change to the required the normal closed configuration. Carefully remove the float, retaining the clip at the bottom of the center of the tube. Remove the float for the invert, the reinstall the retaining clip for the verify the bottom dot on the float is now at the bottom of the repeat procedure step 1 and 2. Use the countersink tool on the large drill bit with the small bevel the outer edge of the center of the hole with the unthreaded and cap through the switch leads pass. No, use the added precaution of signing with the water with the gas leak. It is recommended to use the apply with the joint with the compound thread generator housing components. Do not apply with excessive torque of the water level to the threads for the initial installing the switch into the mounting spacer with excessive torque can damage the space threads causing the water level and gas leakage, possible system failure. 5. Apply light coating of the bipolar joint compound threads of the switch and mounting with the spacer according to the direction product level. The insert of the switch power leads through the spacer hole with the thread of the switch into the place with the seating it firmly. Note the following steps are used to verify the correct switch operation and the responsive water level to operations. Open the transparent current container such as a large glass jar with the outside diameter approximately 2.5 inches, 3 3/4 inch, inside diameter 3.5 inches. Place the unthreaded end of the cap of the container switch in the switch inside. Be sure that the bottom of the strip of the end cap seats evenly with the top of the center. Position the end caps so that at least one with a large tape to hold project the inside of the container and switch to the float at least 1/4 inch away from the container wall. Measure the water level with the switch level float in the water. Connect with the ohm meter with the switch lead with the check of the switch contacts glove. Very slowly pour the water with a large taper to hold until the switch contacts just open. Remain open with the contact closed. Again, the slightly amount of the water waste of the wait several seconds before checking again. Keep the repeating the process until the switch remains open. To check with the water level at least 2 inches over the top of the edge of the jar. Water level less than 2 inches from the top of the switch is defective, must be replaced. Remove the end cap assembly from the jar and dry as necessary with a soft clean cloth, and apply the primary with the cement to make the surface of the slosh shield with the end cap, and attach the slosh shield to the center of the round switch float. Alright, your toroid coil. List for the materials. 1 ferrite toroid coil core, 3.5 outside diameter, 2.5 inside diameter, 5.5 inch thick. Copper wire, magnetic wire, Teflon coated, heavy build, 230 AWG, F500 feet. Teflon etching solution. 1 package of heat shrinking tubing, assorted sizes. Or you can get your materials at National Magnetics Group, 1210 Wind Drive, Bethlehem, PA, 8180177061. MWS Wire Industry, 31200 Cedar Valley Drive, Westlake, Virginia, California, 91362. Action Technologies, 100 Thompson Street, P.O. Box 726, Pittsdown, PA, 18640, Radio Shack Nationwide Store. Or the water hybrid coil hand wound with the ferrite toroid coil will be with insulated high temperature copper wire, close with attention, detail, craftsmanship, and essential with the ability and efficiently reliable coil with literally millions of the different coil with the configuration existing. It's a great experimental sim for the coil design as much for the science of the belief that there's actually an organization dedicated to the craft of the ensuring International Coil Winding Association based in England. Be forewarned that winding any coil, especially a toroid coil, is a tedious affair, but it does make it a job as it does by best to make the job as easy as possible. The coil is created with the 2,000 turns of insulated copper wrapped around the circular magnetic sensitive core. This means that you are dragging each wire from the toroid coil to core just as many times. Teflon insulated core copper magnet wire is only the way to go. It handles heat with extreme very well, and it is in purpose just above any of that you can throw at it. It isn't cheap, but it's well worth the investment. Custom order the MWS Wire Industry that carry over 250 different magnetic special application wires. Be sure to double build extra heavy insulation 223A American welding gauge, and you will need 500 to 550 feet. Is probably best to order 550 feet. Our direction after the coil is completed, shift the coat with the view thin layer of the CPVC cement. Way you end up with something that lasts forever with the practical bomb proof and is easily solidly attachable inside and housing the CPVC cement. Anything to stick to the Teflon takes special chemical etching. That's why Teflon cookware is so popular. The commercial done with the etching some pretty nasty stuff. There's several companies specialize in that process, but you do not want to know the cost. Safely, easy etching process can be done at home, but you give it the result of the recently developed product called the Fluoro Etch. You simply warm fluoro etch up to about 130 degrees, slosh it around, coil around it about a minute, and slosh it in isopropyl or methanol alcohol. Sadly, the kinds you can drink. You can't drink. Sadly, the kinds you can't drink. Sorry. For a main minute, they wash with the soap with the water, rinse with the warm water, lay it air dry. After doing so, anything will stick to Teflon coated coil water. I'm telling you, all this is so that when you call the nice folks at the Action Technology, you'll sound knowledgeable enough that they won't hesitate selling you fluoro etch. 1. I recommend cutting a magnetic wire in 4 100-foot lengths and 1 150 length, but otherwise the drag of the 500-foot wire through the core of 2,000 times. You do the math. Works out just over 104 miles of wire, dragging an average of over 550 feet. 1 or sore arm to tangle the mess by working on 100-foot and 150-foot lengths. You have the 4 soldered splices into the wire, but you cut your wire dragging down to at least 22 miles. You should even give it 11 50-foot lengths, cutting 9.5 miles in 10 solder slices, or carried an extreme 550 1-foot length cuts into less than 1/4 inch and 100,000 1 foot, but you have to make 549 soldered splices. Don't try to shortcut things with wrapping the wire on the core several times. This pulling resists on the wire thorough and wire on thorough. The continual bending and straightening will destroy the wire long enough to reach its end. The modified version method works, but it takes a fair amount of skill experience to master. It requires special equipment. Alright, figure 18 is your incredible water hydrogen system. The legend. The dash line is the gas and water, and 3 is the electrical. So you have your hydrotronic modulator with a water tank, and then go into the pump, and then this gas and water goes between the water tank and the pump, and the hydrogen oxygen. The hydrogen oxygen tank goes, the gas and water goes into it flows in the gauges, goes to the gauges, and also to the flame arrestor, and then the carb adapter fittings and check valve of the engine and the spark plug. Alright, forming 3.5 inch outside diameter, 2 inch inside diameter, 5 inch electrode coil floor, 23 American wire gauge. American welding gauge wire requires 250 turns of wire per wrapped layer. Since the coil builds size of each of the wraps is an average of 3 inches of the wire, so each 1,000 foot, 100 foot of wire provides 400 wraps, slightly over the 1.5 inch layer. Therefore, 400 100 foot lengths or 150 foot length will build 8 layer coil, at least 2,000 turns. No, save the 150 wire with the last layer in case you need the extra for the complete with the 8th layer without spacing near the coil entry wire. At any time they interrupt the wrapping, anytime you interrupt wrapping, be sure to tightly wrap the strip of the plastic electrical tape complete around the coil to secure the last wrap. The Teflon extremely slippery stuff, but you do not want to come back only to find that your coil wraps are loose. It will happen if you do not use the tape. First, complete the wrapping of the entire coil diameter from the layer 1 for the inner core of the only critical layer. Each subsequent layer will automatically position itself by nesting it by the wires in previous wrap. Alright, refer to figure 19. Slip the 1 inch length with a small heat shrink tube with the 4 inch onto the magnet wire. With apply the heat to shrink plate with the right hand, so you probably choose the wrap of the coil with the clockwise direction. Then hold the core with the left hand. In case of the layer with the shrink of the tube is on the top of the core. A line of the left of 30 degrees from the straight is shown. So start with the first wrap over the top of it at the midpoint and weld This will be the start of the layer 1 with the inner core. Be sure to keep the wires wrapped tight again for each of the inside each of the core with no overlap to keep the tension with the wire. The wire always pointing straight out of the core. Precise wire positioning little or no effect with overall the coil performance, but the first wrap dictates the wire position of each subsequent wraps, and so each wire will fall in a depression formed between the two wires of the preceding wrap. To sure, if you do a sloppy job on the first layer, you'll end up doing a sloppy job. You'll end up with a sloppy coil. So take your time and do the job right. Continue to wrap it until you have completed a full turn, completing the coil inner layer 1. Tighten the wrap. There is still plastic or electrical tape around the wire coil entry wire in layer number 1. Check the position of each wire outside edge of the core. Wrap the perfectly which of the core if possible. There will be the 1/19,000 of an inch gap between the two wires, but you can position each of the wire enough of the short piece of the coil wire. The feeler gauge. If the feeler gauge wire touches the core surface between the two wires, the gap is too wide. So if the one wire is out of position, either the fingernail or other blunt edge of the instrument, the worn damaged wire, slightly shift the wire to close the gap enough to keep the feeler gauge to contact the core surface. Any gap of the two wide indicates adjacent gap. The too narrow, so the wire should be moved further apart. After around the coil a few times, you will all be able to visually detect the wires out of position. Alright, show the figure 19, show the torrid detail of the heat shrinking tube, aligning it straight out, the typical splice, bending the wires back in the wrap heat shrinking tube. Mix about a half-inch back of the epoxy with the JB weld sheet with a small brush. Carefully apply with a thin layer of epoxy around the outer edge of the coil. Apply with a motion parallel with the wires, preventing the wire motion, but ensure the epoxy contacts coil surface between the wires. Suspend the coil with the wires. Apply the epoxy cure for at least 8 hours before going to step 5. Note, while wrapping the coil layer 2, be sure to count with the record the numbers. Start the work wrapping the coil layer 2 with successful care. Position each of the wire in the gap formed between the wires and layer 1 with the layer in the outer edge of the coil. Count with the record of the number of the turns. Continue the wrap until you go in within about 1 foot of the wire end. Be secure the wire. Be tightly wrapped plastic electrical tape around the wire and the coil. Note, coil thickness tapers down between the inner and outer edges to minimize the inner coil thickness. Position the wire splice at the top of the bottom of the coil midway between the edges shown in figure 19. Simply wrap the wire 2 or 3 more turns with the cut in 1/2 inch short with the outer edge of the splice the next wire length. Unwrap the wire and use a sharper knife to scrape the Teflon coating about 1/2 inch above the end of the wire end. Always keep the knife blade perpendicular to the wire to prevent damage. Stabilize, slide at 1/2 inch length of the heat shrink tube over the end of the next length of the coil wire. Be sure the tube being large enough to fit over the wire splice. Twist the wire ends for 7 and 8 turns to the form of splice, and then cutting the splice to the length of about 1/4 inch. Bend it toward the coil until the flush again for the coil wire. Slider splice with the slide the shrink in tubing until the center over the splice, and apply the heat to shrink the tubing. While wait a minute for the 2 or more tubing splice to cool. Go on to step 8. Alright, remove the electrical tape from the coil. Continue with the wrap until the layer number 2 is completed. Remove the total number of the total. Return with the required for the coil layer number 2. Allow the total number of the coil turns. Not critical, though most coils are required to the total 8 wire layers. Figure 9. Refer to the record number of the coil turns and the need to complete the number 2. Determine the number of coil layers required to complete the coil with a total number of 1,800 to 2,100 turns. Be sure that the end of the last coil layer near the beginning of the layer 1. Do not finish the coil width of the last layer. Repeat the procedure with the preceding the 5 and 7 of the last layer has been completed. Be sure the last term of the end of the term to do coil entire wire. Cut the least wire length with about 12 inches length. No, do not shrink the heat shrink tube in the following step 11. In the following step 11, it will be used temporarily to secure the coil wires. Referring to figure 19, temporarily the slide 5-inch length of the heat shrink tube over the ends of the coil wires. Draw the tubing snugly against the outer edge of the outer coil edge. Bend the coil leads the back to the coil toward the coil outer end of the tube. Tightly wrap each of the coil wire 4 to 5 turns around the tube, about 1 inch from the end of the twist of the wires together with at least 4 to 5 to 6 turns. Caution exercise extreme care to prevent damage for the coil wires during the failing procedure. Assume the proper CPVC cement with the coiling edge after etching, but do not handle the coil before bare hands. If the coil must be handled with water, cotton gloves. Use the floor to etch with the will suspend with the coil with the heat shrink tube with each of the edge of the surface with the Teflon coated coil wires closely follow the direction of the production labeled necessary by the aid of the etching with the preferred the general descriptive etching of the procedure called out with a later document. They always handle the coil suspending it from the tubing during each phase from the etching with the final warming water rinse. Clean the paper towel to absorb the water drip from the bottom of bottom of the coil until the drip ceases. Allow the coil to air dry for at least 4 to 5 hours before going into step 13. Use a soft bristle brush to coat the entire surface of the coil with a thin and even layer with the CPVC cement. Use the cotton swab to wipe away excess cement with the dripping of the bottom of the coil until the drip ceases. Allow the cement to air dry with at least an hour. Then apply the silicone thin and give the layer CPVC cement in the same manner. R14. Repeat the procedure step 13 for the total of 5 inch layer with the CPVC cement that also has been applied with the coil, allowing at least one of the air wire to dry between each layer with the final layer of the cement to air dry for at least 8 hours before going to step 15. Each exercise not to pull the coil exit wire away from the coil while removing the heat shrinking tube. Unwrap the coil wires from the heat shrink of the tube, then remove the tubing wire to the coil at 1 inch length with the heat shrink of the tube large enough to snugly over the coil wire. The shrinking the tube of the coil enter over the wire, tubing tightly against the outer edge of the coil outer edge of applying the heat shrink the tube. Then use the soft bristle brush apply with the primitive PVC cement with 1/4 inch around the coil and with the tubing surface of the outer coil edge, allowing the cement to air dry with about the hour of applying the second bend of the cement over the first bead. 17. Cement the coil from the end of the wires. Allow it to air dry for at least 24 hours before going to step 18. 18. Cut the coil wires at lengths over 3 inches from the coil. Alright, your toroid coil insulation. I recommend locating the coil electrical connections on the side of the housing directly opposite with the wire pump inlet port. The location minimizes the coil wire connector of the fatigue due to the effects of the wire turbulence with a high pump pressure. 1. Use the number 41 drill bit with the drill 2 hole with the housing wall location shown in figure 20. Cut 2 to 4 inch length with the 3/2 inch bare stainless steel welding rod. Create 90-degree bending out of each for the rod length approximately 1/2 inch. Is shown figure 20 with the cutting other edge length of the 3/4 inch. Use the file square edge of the edge of each of the rod to burr the edge. Use the sharp knife of the square. Scrape the Teflon coating with about 1/2 inch of each of the coil wire. Allows to keep the knife blade perpendicular to the wire to prevent damage. Alright, 4. Wrap each coil of the wire around the top of the 1/2 inch round leg for at least 4 to 5 turns. Use the silver bearing electric solder each of the wires to the rod leg. Trim away the excess wire from the wire strain. Relieve the leg bottom of the wrapping. Have the thread with at least 2 to 3 turns around the length of the wire since the thread is not placed on the outside of the rod bend. Alright, this shows your toroid coil insulation. Water inlet 3/4 inch, 1.5 inch full solder and thread, 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch tie rod insulation. Coil insulation. Or use a soft bristle brush form soapy water to clean soldered area of the rod with a rinse with the warm water. Would allow the thread to air dry with at least 1 hour before the go. Step 6. Coat the entire length of the rod ring with an even layer with the CPVC cement. Allow the cement to dry at least 15 minutes. Apply the second thin coat of the CPVC cement. Allow the cement to air dry about 15 minutes before going to step 7. Temporarily install the coil on top of the 3 support brackets within the housing position. The coil with the wire of the rods pointing toward the hole of the drill with the preceding step 1. Temporarily attach the 3 small strips of the electrical tape on top of the coil from the location of the support bracket. 8. Remove the coil with the housing and apply the primer bottom of the coil through the marked location of the top surface of all 3 support brackets. Coat at the top of each of the support bracket with a heavy loader CPVC cement with install the coil to support the brackets positioning into the wires rods pointing toward the 2 number 41 drill holes. If necessary, with the shift of the coil to the center of the outside edge of the housing, allow the cement rod the wires air dry at least an hour before going to step 9. 2 number 41 holes inside of the housing water will the countersunk with the depth of the sufficient with the radius inside of the bend of each of the rod, allowing the solder leg of each of the rod to lay with the flush against the housing wall, soldered leg pointing upward. Move the 3 tape strip of the tape top of the coil. Use the countersink to large draw with the drill bit. Deburr the inside of the end of the number 141 holes. Insert the rod into the holes and check the inside with the bending of the radius to clear the edge of the hole. If not, countersink it slightly deeper until the desired clear is obtained. Using 400 grit fine sandpaper to polish with the unsoldered leg of each rod, mix in a small quantity of the epoxy with JB Weld, and such as JB Weld. Apply a thin coat of the epoxy unsoldered leg with each of the rod. Use the toothpick of the other precise lower tool to apply the thin coat of the epoxy to the inside of each number 41 hole. Apply a heavy loaded CPVC cement soldered to the leg with the 1 rod. Follow the insert of the rod with number 41 soldered leg pointed directly upward to hold the rod in place about 5 minutes until the cement dries sufficiently to hold it in place. While waiting for the cement to partially dry, clean epoxy the rod end using soft clean cloth and solvent the MEC acetone. Repeat procedure remaining rod. Allow the epoxy to cure for about 8 hours before going to step 12. No, several layers of PVC cement is used to secure the coil of the housing bracket, the rods and wires, and the housing walls to seal the rods against the possible gas and water leakage from the holes in the housing. Arrange for the coil wires that contact with the housing wire as much as possible. Lay the housing on the side of the plastic layer of the PVC cement over the wire solid leg of each of the rod. Extend with the cement layer around the hole of each of the rod ends of the housing wall, forming about 1/2 inch diameter pole with each of the around each hole. After cement air dry at least 15 minutes before going to step 13. Stand at the hosing end of the use of the soft bristle brush. Apply the thick CPC cement over the around the circle coil, through the contact each of the three support bracket. The larger extent of the width of the bracket that you allow the cement to air dry with at least 15 minutes before going to step 14. Repeat the procedure for stepping the 12 and 13 for at least 4 to 5 times to obtain the desired layer of the cement. Allow the cement to air dry at least an hour between the successive layers. After the epoxy has occurred for at least 24 hours, use 400 grit for finer sand paper. Remove epoxy residue from the rod ends. Alright, your unthreaded end cap installation. Note, generator function efficiently not affected in any way with the rotational position of the unthreaded end cap. Check the mating surface of the end cap top of the housing with the clear of the free of the debris of the end cap. Clean the mating surface of the surface off, cleaning the mild development using isopropyl alcohol. After.
I need to use your architectural ruler.
Alright, the unthreaded end cap installation. Note. Generator function efficiency is not affected in any way with the rotational position of the unthreaded end cap. Check with the mating surface of the end cap at the top of the housing. Clean free debris of any kind. Clean the mating surface if the end surface is off. Clean mild with a solvent with the isopropyl alcohol. Determine the desired position and cap. Apply the primer and mating surface at the end of the cap. Top of the generator housing. Apply a thin PVC cement to the primary area of the side of the parts together. Seating them firmly. Start the housing and one end. Housing on the end of the prevent possibility excess cement running into the thread, holding the end cap, allowing to remain in the position for at least an hour while the cement air dries. Alright, generator final assembly. Cut the two rod ends protruding through the bottom of the threaded end cap length with 1/2 inch for the foul square end of the H of the rod to burr the edge of the as added with precaution against the possible water gas leakage. I recommend use the pipe joint compound threaded with the generator housing components, causing to prevent the damage of the threaded hole with the CPCP. Material do not apply the excessive torque components while installing. The threaded damage can cause the water or gas leakage, a possible system failure. To apply the lighting code with the pipe joint compound with all three headed hole with the generator housing and end cap according to the direction of the product label. Apply the light coating to the pipe joint compound with on threads with the drain cock thread with the drain cock with 3/7/64 of an inch thread hole with the bottom of the thread end with the cap sealing with the firmly. Repeat this and proceed to install the remaining components. The 1/38 of an inch barbed hose hiding of the 37/64 inch hole in the housing doubler. 1/38 of an inch barbed hose fitting in the 37/64 inch hole at the top of the housing. 1/8 of an inch barbed hose fitting in the R size hole with the top of the housing. One pressure relief valve within 37/64 holes on the top of the housing. Use the two thickest similar precise tool with the force a small quantity of silicone sealant with the RTV the hole of the end of the cap with which the water level leads with the pass to form a small smooth lead sealant with the bung around the leads of the end of the hole will allow the sealant to cure with at least 24 hours before the going to step 5. Step 5. Visually inspect all the specific components of the housing and cap to verify their integrity, correct the possible defects required. Thoroughly flush the interior of the generator housing with warm tap water. Stand with the housing and allow the excessive water to drain for at least 15 minutes. Use the soft cleaning cloth to dry the housing exterior threads in the housing end cap. Apply light coating and pipe joint compound to the housing end thread cap end cap threads. Thread the end cap onto the housing tightly and firmly. Alright, your in-dash indicator panel assembly. Personal preference dictates layout of the panel to gauge the LED indicators during the assembly. Figures 5, 6, and 7. Limit the list of materials: 1 cylinder head temperature gauge kit, 2.5/16 of an inch diameter mounted with a inside spark plug mounted thermocoupler, sensor, 1 2-gauge custom console, 1 pressure gauge, 2.16 of an inch diameter. 2 bulb socket seconds, 2 watt, and 4 of the LED indicators, 2 green, 1 yellow, 1 red, blinking. 3 55-foot spools of 18-inch gauge stranded hookup wire, 1 9-position male interlocking connector, and 1 9-position female interlocking connector. 2 package crimp-on snap connectors, 1 package assorted ring terminals, 1 package assorted grommets. 1/10 of a foot length with 1/8 of an inch silicone braided and reinforced tube. 20 small stainless steel wire, warm threaded steel warm threaded holes clamps, and 1 package small nylon tie wraps. Material sources: Bus Boys Incorporated, 183 Lake Boulevard, East Redding, California 96003. Auto Meter Products, 413 West Elm Street, Sycamore, Illinois 6178. United States Plastic Corp, Radio Shack nationwide stores. The quickest, easily used the most interactive method of mounting gauge of the LED prefabricated console at the top of the dashboard or other materials may just work as well as recommended for the VDO 1108720 custom console with mold, the ASBS plastic both attractive and durable. Alright, direction. Temporarily mount the cylinder head temperature for the gauge and pressure gauge for the end of the console. Figure 2 to determine the best location of the 4 LEDs. Press the reference button for the location outside of the console. Drill 733 the hole in each location. Strip the proper adhesive from the silicone sealant with the console for the interior surface. Roll for the surface immediately around the area of the drill hole with the sandpaper. To temporarily disconnect the cylinder head temperature gauge. Thermocoupling lead mount with the gauge for the console. Apply with the light coating with the piping joint with the compound with the 1/8 inch 27 and threads with the pressure gauge the 1/8 inch 27 barbed housing. These thread fitting of the gauge tighten firmly slightly 1/8 inch silicone tubing fully with a barb fitting with a screw with the two small stainless steel hose clamps that firmly tighten the hose clamp the mounting with the pressure gauge in the console. The shorter of the two LEDs is always given the anode lead. Identify the anode, positively leave the each LED, cut the length of the 1 inch for the cut the 3 foot length for the 18 inch gauge, hook up the wires, strip the 1/2 inch insulation ends of each wire wrap, strip each wire around each of the anode, leave the solder, slide 1/2 inch length of the heat shrinking tube over each of the wire, flush against the LED, shrinking the tubing. Refer to figure 2 to identify the console location of each of the LED, use the masking tape for the other mean labeling, attaching the cable, identifying the label to each anode wire. Green is power on, pump on, yellow is generator water tank low, and blinking red tank water low. Alright, cut 2 lengths of the hook of the wire, the jump of the wires between the bulb of the socket of the gauge, with the strip the 1/2 inch insulation ends of each wire side of the wire, one socket with each of the wire, slide 1 inch of the length of the heat shrinking tube on the wire as far as possible on the single socket base for the shrink of the tube with the cut on the 3 foot length with the hook of the wire and the stripe with 1/2 inch insulation, 1 end with the twist, the end solder jump of the wire with the 3 foot wire together, slide 1 inch of the length with the strip shrinking tube onto the wire side of the wires to the other socket of the connector center of the connector, sliding the tube as far as possible onto the socket base with the shrinking tube label the wire positive. Cut the 6 inch length over the hook of the wire. Repeat the procedure for the step 5 and step 5 to connect the 6 inch wire with the jumper wire between the two sockets of the base connected with the strip 1/2 inch insulation end of the 6 inch wire. Cut the cathode lead over the green power on the LED to 1/2 inch long. Cut the cathode lead yellow green water low with the LED 1 inch long. Cut the appropriate length of the hook of the wire. Serve the jump of the wire between the cathodes on the LEDs. Strip the 1/2 inch insulation on each end of the wire. Solder the jump wire with the LED cathode. Slide with 1/2 inch length of the heat with the shrinking tube over the wire. Flush against the LED shrinking tube. Twist the strip at the end of the jump of the wire. 6 inch for the step of the 6 together with 1 inch length of the tube. The tube wire. So ring them with the green LED cathode. Slide the tubing flush against the LED. Shrink the tube. Then cut the 3 length of the hook up the wire. Strip the 1/2 inch insulation. 1 end with the side of the wire with the green LED cathode. Slide 1/2 inch length with the heat shrink the tube over the wire as far as possible. The LED shrink with the tube and let the label the wire ground. Cut the cathode lead for the two remaining LEDs on the 1 inch long. Cut the 2 3 foot length with the hook of the wire. The strip the 1/2 inch insulation each of the end of the wire. Side with the wires of the LED cathodes. Slide the 1.5 inch length with the heat shrinking tube with each of the wire. Flush against the LED, shrinking the tube, and label the green LED with the pump of the cathode over the LED. Red LED wire tank water cathode. Low. Silicone sealant carried with the chemical reaction of the oxygen, water, moisture, air, will sometimes refer to the RTV or room temperature volcanizing cement. The sealant cure time that can be shortened with considerable placing the wire, damp the cloth within the console interior with placing the console into a plastic grocery bag. Does not seal the bag so that it's airtight. The method is especially effective in dry climates. 9. Slide the LED counteract mounting hole with the console. They slide the one LED on the 116 with the interior surface of the console. Apply with a small amount of silicone sealant with the gap of the LED flange for the column. Surface with the LED back into the place for the flush for the console. Surface apply the thick bead of the sealant around the LED flange, about 1/4 inch on the cooling surface. They repeat the same procedure with the remaining LEDs. Apply allow certain sealant to secure for at least 24 hours before going to step 9. 9. Install the bulbs and socket the gate with the draw with the 7 LED wires, bulb socket with the wire together with the short and the diff in the LED, secure with the wire bundle with the tie wrap with the tight and the tie wrap cut off the unused strap. 10. Drill or grind hole with the install with a 5/8 inside diameter grommet with the engine component with firewall at appropriate location routing with a hydrotonic wire with thermocoupling lead. The pressure gauge the temperature for the dipper hole with installing the 5.5 inside diameter grommet. Insert the thermocoupling lead with the grommet inside of the engine compartment. Attach or reattach the cylinder head temperature gauge terminal. Permanently attach the console with the dash desired location. So the wire thermocouple lead with the cylinder head temperature gauge. Tumble bundle with the tie wrap between every 6 inches along with the length of the bundle to prevent collapsing with the pressure gauge and tube, but not overload with tighten the tie wraps. Cutting end of the wire wrap, same length with the strip of the insulation end of the each wire, each of them separate pin with a 9 position male interlocking connection, crippling or soldering. Remove the spark plug with the edge of the plug hole with a soft clean cloth to ensure the good electrical contact. Thermocouple polish air with connected with the spark plug. With the number 400 grit fine sign paper to remove the cloth with the spark plug hole, slip the thermocouple ring over the spark plug threads, install the spark plug and tighten the spark plug with a normal torque value. Alright, your water tank pump. List of materials. 1 rectangular polyethanol tank, 16 gallons, 21 inch by 14 inch, 14 inch by 14 inch. High, low temperature silicone tube in the 3/8 inch, 8 inside diameter, 20 foot. Silicone braided reinforced tube in the 3/8 inch, inside diameter 20 foot. One high head pump for 12 volt DC, 75 psi minimum. 1 brass bushing, 3/8 inch PTF male, 3/8 inch PTF female. 1 package crimp on butt connectors. Radio Shack, Fastener Hut, United States Plastic Corp, Flow Jet Corporation, 20 Icon Foothill Ranch, California 92610. Note phone number 1-949-859-4945. Toll free 1-800-235-6538. Water tank capacity is not critical. It should be at least 1 gallon of the recommended tank. Sturdily constructed with the holding 16 gallons, furnished with a 3/4 inch FPT outlet fitting. Direction: apply the thin film with a pipe joint compound with the internal threads with the 3/4 and 3/8 inch bushing threads with the 3/8 inch barbed housing thread. The fitting of the bushing and tightening firmly. Apply the thin film with the pipe joint with the compound extremely threads bushing internal threads with the water tank fitting. Unthread the bushing into the tank of the tightly firmly. The water level switch can be installed with the mid point on each side of the wall of the tank. Determine the direction desired location beside the routing with electrical leave the track outlet, etc. One the switch leave the ground with the vehicle frame and the truck area with the other leave the connected to the hydronics module. Drill a cut the 5/8 with an inch hole sidewall with the water tank at the midpoint with the length of the 4/4 inch of about the bottom of the flush with the water. Tap the water with remove the plastic shaving. Move the tank cap with the drill 37/64 inch hole cut with the cover the center of the cap thread with the 3/8 inch 18 tap with the flush of the cap tap with the water. Remove the plastic shave with the 3/8 inch bar hose fitting with the tap hole with the C firmly cutting 3/6 inches length with a high low temperature silicone tube. Slide the tubing and the fitting secure with the two stainless steel hose clamps. Tighten the clamps firmly. Caution: never to attempt to control the power of the electrical device directly through the water pump level switch. Doing so damages and destroy the switch. The water level switch contains the highly quality magnetic reed contacts were liable to operate through the millions of 0 cycles, which connected the LED light. Strip 1/4 inch insulation end with the water level switch lead with the connect to the ammeter lead with the switch lead with the pivot the switch float until the flush is against the switch body. Verify the ammeter and indicate the close of the switch contacts. If the contacts are not closed, which switch defective must be replaced. Place the flow switch away from the body until the 10 degrees of its stop. Verify the switch contacts open. The contacts are not open. If the contacts are not open, the switch is defective and must be replaced. Use a soft clean cloth to joint the tank side of the wall with a 5/8 inch hole. Apply the pipe joint with the compound threads of the switch pipe. Note that they are mounting the strip of the tank wall with the using switch into the tank of the float. Pivot to the upward align the pivot to back of the parallel to the tank at the bottom. Firmly the flight tighten the switch nut mounting nut. 8. Attach the immediately leave the switch to verify the switch contacts are plugged are closed. Plug with the tank outlet fitting with the fill of the tank with water with the switch contact. Open the fill tank with the water level. The level raises again additional 2 inches. Verify the switch contacts are switched. Still open the tank outlet. Verify the switch contacts are closed with the water level drops approximately 1/3 of the full point with the go to step 9. The switch contacts do not respond to the change with the water level. The tank to verify the switch properly. Install the flow. Pivot the freely. Verify the flow is at least a quarter inch away from the part of the tank of the correct installation properly. If the switch is properly installed, it is effective. Must be replaced. Drain the water over the tank. Then install the cap tightly and firmly. Construct the wooden frame 3/4 inch, 4 to 4 inch highly. Secure the tank against the sliding of the within the trunk. Drill a hole in the cuts of the notch in the frame length enough to clear the tank outlet with the tank being installed. Remove the necessary cut the notch to clear these switch the mounting of the nuts and wires. 10. Drain the water in the tank. Install the cap tight and firmly. Construct the wooden frame. 4 inch secure with the tighten against the sliding of the trunk. Drill a hole cut in the notch for the frame large enough to clear the tank outlet with the wild tank being installed. The current removed. If necessary, cut a notch and clear the switching and mounting nut wires and fasten the frame with the trunk floor at the desired location. 11. Locate the convenient spot with the vehicle, the chassis closed with the water tank with the drill, 3/32 inch grinding with the rigging terminal attachment hole with the tank switch, leave the clean rag, solve the remove the dirt and debris around the hole, grind the use the sandpaper to remove the point, any other insulation, any of the area around the hole, the strip, the 1/2 inch insulation for the end of the one of the wire, crimp the large ring terminal onto the wire. Do not attach the ring terminal until the structure to do. Step 15. It is recommended the water pump is installed with the engine compartment. The high-low temperature silicone tubing will be connected with the tank with the pump. The pump is installed with the trunk area. The tube is connected with the pump. The check of the valve will be pressurized up to 85 psi. Silicone braided reinforced tubing may be used. If the pump is not self-priming, it must be installed within the trunk. Determine the length of the tubing needed to reach the pump of the water tank of the engine with the compartment. If the pump will be located in the engine, the compartment, they go to step 14. If the pump will be located in the trunk, go to step 13. All right. Mount pump the desired location of the trunk to determine the length of the tube need for the attachment to the angle to the pump to check the high-low tube tubing required for the length of the slide of the tank fitting. Secure the tube with the two small stainless steel hose clamps tighten firmly. Slide the tank of the wooden frame. Slide 2 stainless steel hose clamps over the tank tube with the slightly tube over the pump inlet fitting. Slide hose clamps and fittings tightly firmly. Slide the braided tubing over the pump with the outer fitting and the small 2 stainless steel clamp hose over the fitting and the term tightly firm. Go to step 15. 14. Cut the high-low temperature tubing is the required length of the sliding on the tank fitting. Secure the tubes with 2 stainless steel fitting steel hose clamps and tighten firmly. Slide the tank into the wooden frame. 15. Attach the tank ring to the terminal 3/32 inch hole with the chassis of the shield metal with a screw with a heavy layer of the petroleum jelly grease over the terminal screw. Strip the 1/2 insulation end with the remaining of the switch wire with the crimp that connected under the wire. Determine the length with the hook of the knee with the lace 3-foot engine compartment cut to the length with the strip the 1/2 insulation end with the hook up of the wire with the clamp onto the butt connected to the butt. If the pump is installed with the truck, repeat with the procedure and fly with the equal length with the hook up of the wire to the pump power lead. Route the tank of the pump wires or tubing with the vehicle struck for the be sure they install with a 3/4 inch inside diameter grommet when the axis hole to be drilled with the tie wraps of about every 6 inches secure with the wire tube bundling to prevent the crushing of the tube. Do not over tighten the tie wraps. 18. Secure the mounting of the water pump engine compartment if the pump is not installed within the trunk. Slide 2 small stainless steel hose clamps onto the high-low temperature tube. Then install the tube onto the pump inlet fitting firmly tighten the hose clamps. Alright, your hydrotonics module part list. Purchase the specific electronic components is called with the schematic diagram. Figure 5, Figure 6, and Figure 7. 2 12-position male interlocking connectors, 2 12-position female interlocking connectors, 1 universal component board, Radio Shack, part number 27617 on PC board, equipment Radio Shack 2671576, one exclosure 8-inch, 6-inch, 3-inch Radio Shack 2701809. Material source Radio Shack nationwide source. Alright, service. Note, since both the electrode circuit with figure 5 and the coil circuit with figure 6 will operate with a relatively low frequency, physical layer of the hydrotonic modulation component is not critical amount with the component of the universal component board designed to create the PC board layout with a PC board kit, even if the need with the chemical solution recommendation is enclosure protection with the hydrotonic circuit is attractive and easy to mount. The electrode coil with the indicator circuit with the be built on the same board on the separate board with using the sideboard mounting feature with the recommended enclosure. Direction: refer to figure 5 with the electrode circle using the component detail. Figure 6 with return the coil circle using the component detail. Refer to 7 for the indicator circle using the indicator is detailed. A hole must be drilled with a hydrotonics module enclosure with the routing wires 9 position indicator panel connected. The second hole with the must also drill the routing wires 2 position 12 position connectors other system components being ensured they install the appropriate size ground on each hole. Alright, drill the hole enclosure for the shell with a 3/8 inch ground inside the diameter ground and cut 8 1/2 foot length with a hookup wire with a 12 strip with 1/2 inch from the end of each wire with the one end with the wire ground solder the hydrotonics ground negative bus with the figure 5 with the label of the wire refer to the following figures of the side with the tip of the remaining LED bolt socket wires to be sure to label each wire. The power on figure 5, all other LEDs figure 7, the positive bulb socket center of socket connection wire figure 7. Alright, cut 5. Cut the 8 wire with each equal length with the strip the 1/2 insulation each of the end of the wire with the connect the wire with the 9 position female interlocking connector. Be sure the wire label each of the position correspond with the wire each of the 9 position. After connecting the wires, remove all the labels label all labels to prescribe the wires with a tie or wrap and place in every 3 inches along with the length of the bundle. 6. Drill another hole with the enclosure and install with the 1/2 inch inside the diameter. Cut the 19 1 foot length with the hook up the wire. Strip the insulation one end of each of the wire with the 2 wire with the appropriate terminal to generate the electrode. Figure 5 with the 2 wire with the appropriate terminal to generate the coil. Figure 6 with the select 1 wire with the appropriate terminal to pump circle. The figure 7 and solder the wire with the appropriate terminal to generate whatever level to switch. Figure 7 and solder the 5 wires before the fuse connection. Battery side power. Side bus power fuse figure 5 side 5 wires to the negative bus solder 1 wire to the throttle 10K resistor solder the 10 wires to the tank water level switch figure 7 and be sure appropriately to label each wire. Our 2 connectors are provided with an extra position for future expansion, modification, design, improvement. Be sure to make the male 12 position interlocking connectors and female 12 position interlocking connectors preventing accidental connections. 19 wires the equal length with a strip to 1/2 inch insulation end of each wire. Connect the 9 wires in 12 position female interlocking connectors. Connect the remaining 9 wires to 12 position female interlocking connectors. Secure the wire with the tie wrap placed with about 3 inches along with the length of the bundle. Attach the hydrotonic module over the dash point. Use the far forward a practical angle of the 9 position interlocking connectors module and dash indicators. Alright, your fuel injected carburetor adapter. A carburetor adapter. Since hundreds of various fuel flow systems exist, I recommend contact the IMPC code with purchase of the appropriate adapter. The deal almost exclusively gasoline engine fuel conversion systems have thousands of options available that have been in business for nearly 50 years. Describe the vehicle's engine water hybrid system and ask for the rare recommendation, particularly inquire for the possible installing beam gasret adapter. Install the appropriate adapter to the engine. Contact the company experience in gasoline conversion systems. Explain the water hybrid system design with the switching back forth and between hydrogen gas fuel system are combined. Here's a company I highly recommend. IMPCO Technologies 16804 Gridley Place, Sorotis, California 90703. Phone number 1562 860-6666. Alright, your throttle assembly. Hydrotonics throttle is a highly quality precision pot potentiometer designed with reliability durability over 5 million complete revolutions. Cheap pots will soon fail to cause problems. Do not substitute cheap pot. This material, one precision pot series 578 1000 kilowatt Ks, 1 foot length with a CBC rod 3/4 inch diameter. Material state electronic 36 route number 10 East Hanover, New Jersey 07936. Phone number 1973887255. More free 1-800-631-8083. United States Plastic Corp. Figure 21 depicts the typical hydrotonic throttle assembly since the hundreds of various throttle linkage of the procedure off the general guideline. The pot mounting of the design would allow the pot entering the hosing and rotation with the shifted out throttles will sensitivity by rotation. Throttle linkage achieved all pressures through pot rotation limited adjustment to ideal full throttle with the combined with the bracket rotation. Determine the best location engine compartment of the install the sleeve and the arm and assembly of pot mounting bracket. Fabricate the pot mounting bracket with the dimensions indicated in the figure 21 at 1/8 inch CPVC. Shoot the throttle and need to modify the bracket side of the attachment points with a suit your vehicle. Do not cut the 3/32 slot until instructed to do so in step 6. Alright, cut 1.5 inch length with a 3/4 inch CBC rod. Locate the convenient spot measure for the diameter. Existing throttle linkage to drill the hole, the measured diameter length wide throughout the hole. Use the thin blade side to cut the rod and half length. Use the bell sander sad and flat. Strip at least 1/4 inch wide onto that 1/2 rod. Cut 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch sleeve onto the 1/8 of an inch CBC sheet. We drill 7/16 of a hole on one end of the arm with 1/4 inch of the end of the drill. Countersink at the level of each end of the hole with about 1/16 of an inch deep. Apply the primer, then cement mating strip of the arm and sleeve of the joint and the part of the plow, the parts for the drive for at least 2 hours, and dress the cut edge of the throttle parts with sandpaper. For further figure 5, position the shaft with 100K with throttle pedometer at the midpoint of the range of the rotation of the marking point with the marking alignment between the pop shaft and the pot shaft with the bushing at the point. Shown in figure 21, the number 41 drills drill hole the shaft, the point of the shift alignment mark with 3/16 of the shaft edge. Alright, cut 6 inch length with a 3/32 inch seamless steel welded rod temporarily installed with a pot 3/8 inch hole with the mounting bracket slide of the welding rod and shaft hole. Allow the shaft of the mount bushing marking. Rotate the pot body until the rod points directly on the upward parallel with the front edge of the bracket. Place the mark at the point with the anti-rotation pin to contact the bracket. Remove the point rod from the bracket. Shown in figure 21, cut the cover 30/32 inch wide slot with 1/4 inch of each of the slide marked firmly. Install the pot and bracket. Check the anti-rotation pin into the slot and don't not bind the slot with the pot body is rotated necessary. U for the slot. Small fine tool file follow the slot. The U for the pot body rotates from right freely. Dress the slot edge with sandpaper. Our figure 21 show the throttle assembly. Show the anti-rotation pin and the 7/64 beveled hole with a 3/16 of an inch. The hose clamp to 1/4 inch, 1 inch, and 1 inch, 1/2 inch of the stainless steel welding rod. The 1/2 inch for the existing power, the existing throttle linkage. 3/8 inch hole, 3/32 for 1/2 inch, one slot, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1/4 inch hole. Attach the pot bracket with the front stem of the lock washer. Temporarily install the rod with the shaft hole with the pot assembly aligned with the two rod parallel. The front end of the bracket tighten the mountain the view of the firmly file squarely. Both ends of the front rod. Burr sandpaper with the fine tooth from all the ME acetone soft clean and clean the pot shaft with the rod with the flush the hole with the shaft MEK with the acetone. Mix a small quantity, high quality epoxy with the JB weld. Use the precision and the smooth thick out with the hole with the lower epoxy of thin layer with the epoxy end of the rod. Then strip of the shaft hole, allowing to extend about 1/8 of an inch beyond the hole with a small fill of epoxy around the junction of the rod and both ends of the shaft. Allow the epoxy to cure for at least 24 hours before going to step 33. Our figure 21, attach the sleeve of the arms, assemble the throttle linkage with the small hose clamp to locate the pot directly below the arm of the rod, producing the hole for the arm. And the arm position the bracket forward, the aft, the sideways until the rod is square on the sleeve of the arm parallel with the front end of the bracket. The throttle linkage approximately midpoint of the travel. Position the bracket up and down until the rod rotates the angle approximately 68 degrees for each 5 of the center of the throttle linkage through its full range. Using 2 1/4 inch bolt washers, lock nuts that attach the bracket of the engine structure bolt. Position the bolt so it's approximately stand at slot point midpoint. Allow the bolt move up and down. Precise adjustment. Loosen the bolt slightly and pivot the bracket upon the down. Check if the bolt does not bind with the slot at any point. If necessary, use the small fine tooth fit and file with the file spot with the pot body rotates to after the slot edge of the sandpaper. Alright, check the pot rod does not bind in the arm hole with the throttle linkage. Remove it through the full range of throttle travel necessary to eliminate binding. Rotate the pot slightly up and down the slide edge sleeve. Assembly slot forward after the fight and firmly tighten the bracket bolts and sleeve hose clamps. Alright, preliminary assembly and testing. Do not temper the solder wires directly to the forward generator electrodes. The coil pins excessively heat will damage the epoxy bond, possibly cause gas or water leakage. Install the male crimp and crimp on the snap connection for each of the 4 electrodes, coil pin with the generator. Securely install the generator engine compartment with the 1/4 inch bolts, washer, and lockdowns. Be sure the generator level with the vehicle and generator is level with the vehicle frame. The water pump is installed with the truck, and go to step 3. Install with the engine compartment. Go to step 2. Cut the length of the silicone braided tube to connect with the water pump out with a 3/8 inch fitting on the side of the generator housing near the bottom of the always slack of the tube. Then go to step 3. If the water pump internal channel check valve, the two small pumps hose clamp the water tubing into the 3/8" bar fitting of the slide with the generator housing near the bottom of it. Also, some slack of the tubing fitting of the tank. The bob does not have if the pump does not have the internal check with installed the check valve with the tubing fitting a few inches of the bar with the biting inside of the generator. Always some slack with the tubing. Use the small hose with the clamp to each of the bar fitting of the tight length. Normally, be sure to install the check valve so that they are flow direction layer over the valve points to generator. Cut 2-3 inch of the length of the buried tube of the edge of the H end with the check valve with the small hose with the clamp with the tighten the clamps firmly. Use the two small hand hose clamps attached to the valve hose with the carb adapter on each end of the valve area pointing toward the adapter. Tighten the clamps firmly. When the tube hose clamp attached to the flame arrestor check valve hose with the tighten of the clamp, check out the length of the braided tube. The length ends connect with 3/8" bar fitting on the generator. The flame arrestor slide floor hole. 4 small hose clamp the tube and connect with the tube hitting between the generator flame arrestor. Also some slack of the tubing firmly tighten the clamps. Part 9 or 6. Use the two small hole clamps, small hose clamps attached to the pressure gauging tube within 1/8" fitting of the top of the generator. Always allow some of the slack of the tubing firmly tighten the clamps. Cut 4 or 5 foot length of the hook up the wire strip of the 1/2" insulation, one each of the twist with the straight end of the two wires together, trim the ends of the length of the 3/8" clamp. The ring of the terminals placed, the terminals attached to the terminal of the hydronics power switch. Then proceed with the other two wires. Mount the switch at the convenient point of the dash. Rotate one pair of switch with the vehicle positive the power bus is always hot, and the battery side of the bus is shown figure 5. The cut the wires on the length of strips by half the insulation wire. End of the two as the wires with the trim 3/8" from the grip of the ring terminal. Other property that connects to the other wire ends do not attach the terminal of one other connector bus until they instructed to do so in step 16. Cut the two 5 foot lengths of the hook up the wire spliced together with the ring terminal with the down step 5 with a convenient spot engine compartment attached to the ring terminal vehicle chassis. Drill 3 32" hole with location attached terminal following procedure 11 through 15. Rotate the two wires ground and install the engine compartment, the firewall along the slack wire for the cut the lamp wire east of the 12 position connect to the hydronics module. The trim 1/4" insulation end of each wire connect. Each wire negative bus bottom to each of the 12 position interlocking connect receive step 6. Part 10. Rotate the remaining pair of switch wires to connect to the wires of length, allowing them slack wires to connect with the wires to connect to the two battery to the positive bus position in the same manner as done in step 9. Connect the 4 wires of appropriate length with the cup of the generator cool with the electrical pin. Connect the step 1, strip 1/5 of the insulator. Each wire insulation female crimp on the snap wire with each of the wire attached to the connector generator terminals. Route the wire with the hydronic connector. They cut the wires each with the length of the strip of the 1/4" insulation. Each wire each wire with the appropriate position with the hydronic connectors. Or refer to figure 7 to connect the tank water level to the generator water level of such wire with the appropriate portion with the hydronic connector. The use the butt connector slice the hook up the wires to split. The wires required that you reach the hydronic connectors. Connection 13. Connect the two length of the hook up the wires to connect with the valve plot with the hydronic connector strip to 1/4" for the insulation on each end of the wire. Solder each of the pot terminals. Slide 1 inch of length of the heat shrink tubing on each of the wire over the solder terminals and the shrink of the tubing. 14. Rotate the pot with the hydronic connector to cut each end of the length of the strip of the 1/4" insulation end of each wire. Connect one battery pot with the power bus connector with the connect with the other end of the lead contactor position to the 10 connector resistor. Figure 15. Rotate the pot shaft to the midpoint position. Caution: do not connect the water pump leads nor add water to the tank. Instructed to do so until step 1 of the final. Instructions to do so in step 1 of the final assembly testing. Use an ohmmeter to verify the hydronic power switch with the out position. If no, place the switch in the out position. Connect the switch ring with the terminal. Other connected with the battery positive bus terminal. Caution: power will be applied to water hydro system in step 18. Incorrect electrical or electrical connection can lead to the system component failure and damage. Be sure to double check with electrical connection before applying power. 17. Double check all electrical connection, water hybrid system, correct the air connection. Correctly any correction errors required with the two position the interlocking connection with the hydronics module with the matching system connectors. Verify that all system connectors are properly engaged. If still in place, remove the hydronic module enclosure cover. Caution: do not attempt to start the engine until they instruct to do so. The preliminary test to verify the basic system and function. They properly access the shut off the power immediately. 18. Immediately after applying the power, check with the following system response in order to notate if a problem exists with the shut off of the power. Immediately, smoke electrical sparking does not occur. Electrical overheating in any system of the component does not occur. An indicator panel check with the LED functions follow the power on, power pump on, generator low, the LEDs are lit. Tank water low, and the LED is blinking on. The indicator check if the gauge light is lit. Put the water hybrid system power switch on the on position. Verify that no problem exists. If the problem exists, to turn the power off immediately. If number 19, no problem exists, go to step 20. If the problem troubleshoot, locate the repair and replace the failed component. If the replacement is accomplished, go to step 18. Use your finger to the handy sensor check with the no system component. The overheating is on the curve. Go to step 21. Overheating the curve, go to turn off the power and return to step 19. 21. Check the vehicle gas pedal with full idle position. If it don't play for the idle position, connect the digital voltage meter pin. Number 6 to the amplifier LM74.1. Refer to the figure 5. Record the voltage level there. The voltage is present when they go to step 22. With no voltage in component, defective must be replaced. After replacing the component, go to step 18. No, if the gas pedal is moved with the idle full power, the voltage level pin in 6 amplifier LM741 should increase slightly and increase the approximately 1 volt DC to 4 volt DC. Move the gas pedal to full power, record the voltage level the pin, save the close the voltage, record step 21, the voltage level to increase the level of at least 1 volt DC, step 23, the voltage level does not change at all, if the component is defective, must be replaced. After replacing the component, go to step 21. Rotate the 20K with the throttle adjustment the pot with the stop of the voltage volt pin with 6 volt with the rotate with the voltage range. Go with the 24 with the voltage does not. If the voltage is not vary, component is defective, must be replaced. After replacing the component, repeat this procedure. Step 24. Set the throttle adjust the point in the midpoint with the rotation. Note highly stable square volt wave pulse described by the NE555 controller. The gas pedal is moved forward toward full power. The input voltage is controlled with the LM741 amplifier. Increase the pulse ratio. Control square wave output in pin 3. 25. Connect the oscilloscope leading the pin 3 with an NE55 controller to verify the square wave pulse with exists. The pulse will ratio increase the gas pedal to move the idle full power of the square wave exists. The pulse width ratio goes to step 26. If the pulse does not exist, the pulse width ratio does not increase. The gas pedal is moved. The component defective must be replaced. After replacing the component, repeat this procedure. 26. Rotate the 2K pulse width adjustment in the trim pot with the stop to verify the pulse width. The chain of the pot is rotated. The pulse width. The chain that goes step 27. The pulse width does not change. The component is defective. Must be replaced after placing the component. Repeat the procedure. Step 27. Step the 2K trim pot midpoint rotations. Note the frequency of the square wave pulse failed for the range of the 15 kilohertz to the 20 kilohertz. The trigger the oscillator circuit that provides the variable frequencies input to the NE55 controller and the response adjusting the 2K trim pot with drip dip switch for situation settings. 28. Connect the oscilloscope leading with the pin number 3 with the number NE55 controller. Verify the square wave frequency chain with the oscillator 2K pot. Rotate with the frequency chain with the go step 29. With the frequency does not change component defective must be replaced after replacing the component. Repeat the procedure. 29. Set the oscillator spot in the midpoint rotation. Refer to the figure 5 with the frequency coil circle with the control with the CD4059A dial of the end control that falls in the range of the 15 Hz with the 20 Hz of the engine of the counter. Receive the electrode circuit with the figure 5 with the frequency of the electrode circle with the chain with the frequency coil circle with the chain. They accordingly place the width of the coil circuit adjust the 10K pulse with the adjustment pot. 30. Connect the oscillating leap with the pin number 8 and NE555 controller. Rotate the pulse width with the adjusting pot with the stop to verify the pulse chain with the pot was rotated. The pulse width, the chain with the go step 31 pulse width does not change. The component is defective must be replaced. After replacing the component, repeat this step. Set the pulse width adjustment pot at the midpoint rotation. Connect the digital voltmeter leading to pin 8 with the NE555 controller. Rotate the 10K strength of adjust the pot with the stop. Verify the voltage level of the chain of the pot. If you rotate the voltage level of the chain, go to step 73. If the voltage level does not change, the component is defective must be replaced. After replacing the component, repeat the step. Step 33. The shrink adjusting pot with the midpoint adjusting rotation. Refer to figure 5. Step the dip switch according to the oscillator DC4069. Manufacturer instructs the obtain the frequency 15 kilohertz to 20 kilohertz and connect the oscillator frequency meter with the pin 6 oscillator CD4069. Verify the oscillator frequency between 15 kilohertz and 20 kilohertz. Frequency between 15 kilohertz and 20 kilohertz. Adjust the 2K frequency adjusting pot. Obtain the frequency with the range of the correct frequency cannot be attained ascertain the defective component is most likely the CD4069 with the oscillator circuit located with the replace the defective component and return the step.
Adam, I need pencils. Please, sir.
Alright, hold on. Alright, step 35. Refer to figure C for the oscillating frequency meter, that the frequency pulse appearing with the collector component of the 2N3055 from the 15 Hz to the 20 Hz frequency with the range of the go. Step 36 of the frequency not within the range should go to step 36 of the step. 36 step. Divide the N counter of the N factor 1000 according to the manufacturer instruction. Verify the frequency 15 Hz to 20 Hz the collector component of the 2N3055. If the frequency range to go to step 37 of the frequency is not within range component of the defective must be replaced after replacing the component. Go back to step 35. Step 37, shut off the power. And cylinder head temperature. Let me see. Cylinder head temperature. The hydrogen burns slightly hotter than the gasoline. You should expect a slightly higher cylinder head temperature. Is good. The idea establish the cylinder head temperature reference point with driving the first slowly on gasoline. I recommend that you approach the water hybrid system using a very high quality fast response carbon cylinder head temperature gauge, sensing killer head temperature gauge directly with the base of the spark plug. Alright, in step 1, drive your vehicle with at least 15 minutes, 30 minutes in cold weather on open highway to the assure of the engine open the normal operation temperature. Note, record the cylinder head temperature in degrees in Fahrenheit under each of the following driving position. Park in full idle transmission neutral in 3 minutes, 25 miles in residential area for at least 2 minutes, and 60 miles at full power with a steep grade for at least 30 seconds. Alright, your final assembly and testing. We're going to cut the tape and we'll come back and we'll finish up the last 18 pages.